What is service-oriented architecture? Service-oriented architecture is a style of software design where services may be provided to the other components by application component through communication protocol over a network. The basic principle of service-oriented architecture are independent of vendors, products, and technologies. Service-oriented architecture layer has three parts: approach to follow, standards to ensure, and the objectives to achieve. The service oriented architecture layer has system orchestration, service bus, service repository, service layer, component business, and data access repository. Those are connected to three different components: approach to follow, which has end-to-end test harness, automated tools, virtualization step, service validation, penetration, white gray box, transaction, data validation. So it is what we talk about, the testing the tools and transaction of data which is used for validation purpose. The next component is objective to achieve. What things needs to be achieved using service oriented architecture? They should have acceptance, should have workflow, should have governance policy, should have interoperability, compatibility, functional integration, performance, and security. All these are objectives that needs to be achieved by service oriented architecture. There are standards that need to be make sure that they are followed: BPMN, BPEL, XPDL, WS, W3C, Corba, .NET, Java, JDBC, ODBC. So all these are standards that needs to be followed while describing the service oriented architecture. This is the view graph that how the service oriented architecture is helpful to improve from the closed system to shared basis or shared services. Before service oriented architecture, the application dependent business function, which has three different blocks: service scheduling, order processing, account management. Service scheduling has check customer status, determine product availability. Under order processing, there are check customer status, determine product availability, verify customer credit and order status. Account management has calculate shipping charges, order status, and check credit. All these three components are connected to data repository. These data repository has marketing, sales, CRM, which is customer relation management, finance, data warehouse, external partners. So these data repository are connected to three different components of service scheduling, order processing, account management. The composite applications which are part of after applying service oriented architecture, which has composite application, order processing, account management, and service scheduling as the top layer, which has different business processes, and they can use reusable business services such as creating invoice, check customer status, check order status, and all these are related to different data repository of marketing, sales, CRM, finance, data warehouse, external partners. So in the view graph you can easily see the changes, that how it is more advanced after applying service oriented architecture. Here is another view graph to understand this how this service oriented architecture works. There are users who are using the service, and service can be used and accessed through any device that hooks up to the web service, and all the database is maintained in the cloud, where data as a service, which address data, geodata, or personal data. Software as a service, which route optimized software that use the data to generate quick routes. And platform as a service, which provides the integration. So this service oriented architecture is pretty dependent on the what type of service client would like to use, and that data will be extracted from the database. Service-oriented architecture is a style of software design where services are provided to the other components by application component through communication protocol. Its principles are independent of vendors and other technologies. In this, a number of services communicate with each other in one of the two ways: through passing data or through two or more service coordinating an activity. There are a few characteristics of service-oriented architecture. The core values include business value, strategic goals, intrinsic interoperability, shared services, flexibility, evolutionary refinement. So business value is more should have the objective, common objective to achieve. Should be revenue generated, revenue based. Strategic goal, there is single goal. To achieve that goal, there are different modules, different segment which works together and develop their strategy to achieve that common goal. Interoperability is very important, where all the modules, all the components, they work simultaneously to reach out the single objective. Shared services is more like single repositories used by different type of component, different people. Flexibility in the service and evolutionary refinement is very important. At the time comes, time change, the system or the organization is able to update themselves. Service oriented architecture patterns. There are three roles in each of the service oriented architecture: service provider, service broker, service registry, service repository, and service requester or consumer. The service provider, service broker, service requester. The service provider works in a conjunction with the service registry and debating then why and hows of the service are being offered, such as security, availability, and what to charge. This role determines the service category and if there need to be a training agreement. Next is service broker, which makes information regarding the service available to those requesting it, and the scope of the broker is determined by whoever implements it. The service requester locates entries in the broker registry and then binds them to the service provider. They may or may not be able to access multiple services, and that depends on the capability of the service requester. Service oriented architecture has four components which are part of it: people, which empower decision makers; process, which align IT, information technology, with business operation; platform, which increase operational efficiency; practice, which employ best practice methodology. There are differences between service oriented architecture and software as a service. In the view graph, you can see that two circles, they are overlapping to each other, where service oriented architecture and software as a service, they are connected in multi-tenancy, service catalog, order management, provisioning, service monitoring, SLA, user authentication and authorization, subscription management, metering, billing, settlement, and cross charge. Software as a service have their own thing to do with marketing, sales management, lead tracking, customer support, revenue and financial management, payment, business intelligence, e-commerce, channels, collection. And service oriented architecture have different things from software as a service, such as abstraction, dynamic recovery, reuse, service bus, governance, registry, orchestration, interface, definition. There are differences between service oriented architecture and microservices. The service oriented architecture has hardware, network, storage, hypervisor, operating system, managed runtime environment, application server, application, and service APIs. In microservice architecture, if we talk about that, then the services and APIs has major part to do than manage runtime environment, operating system, hypervisor, storage, network hardware. Here you see that in microservice architecture, they are more focusing on specific type of service, and after the managed runtime environment, it takes care of the service part and APIs. But in service oriented architecture, they have application server and application. So that's a major difference that you see between SOA and microservice architecture. Microservices, also known as microservice architecture, it is an architectural style that structures an application as a collection of small autonomous services which you model around the business domain. While microservices and service-oriented architecture are similar in some way, there are basic four types of services. Functional service, which define core business operation; enterprise service, which is defined by the functional service; application service, which is defined by specific application content; and the last one, infrastructure service, which implements non-functional tasks such as authentication, auditing, security, and logging. So there are four types of service: functional service, enterprise service, application service, and infrastructure service. So that's it for the day. I hope you have enjoyed the lecture. Thank you.